We're doing this 10-week online course, which is titled Seeing Through the Self-Illusion. And I just want to share a few words about it. So it's going to be a 10-week course, meeting every Tuesday for 2 hours. And it's all about helping people have a felt shift of seeing that the self is an illusion. Not just as an intellectual, philosophical, kind of makes sense idea, but to really grok it, like to really have an actual shift in perception. And the way it's going to be organized, so I had that shift myself back in 2017. It's very subtle and very obvious. And since then, in my client sessions, I've been, exploring this type of stuff with clients to different degrees. I've mentored people. I've helped quite a few people to have that shift. And what's going to make this course different is that in every session, I'm going to work live with at least one person in the audience, doing my best to help the person have a felt shift of that in the session live. That's very useful also to watch as a spectator. So in each session, there's going to be at least one, let's say, actual session with someone live. Of course, when people watch the session like this, they tend to internalize it. And by watching quite a few different people go through it, there's a good chance that something's going to resonate. Like you come at it from so many different angles. Not only that, in every session, we're going to, directly explore the self-illusion from different angles, from different frameworks. There are different angles, different ways to get into it, different methods, different techniques, if you will. And I think this is really a case of different strokes for different folks. Like you never know what type of exercise, metaphor, or experience that someone might be able to relate to. We're going to be using your hypnotic capacity and do quite a bit of hypnotic work as part of this as well, which is kind of different than how people usually work. Here's an interesting thing. If you think about hypnosis, if people ask, well, what is hypnosis? There's actually an excellent. Do you know Chris Williamson, the podcaster? He has David Spiegel on recently. That's a great episode, by the way, on hypnosis for anyone who's into hypnosis. But I really used to love Jay Haley's saying where he said that, hypnosis is a paradox in a sense because you're directing someone to behave spontaneously. The hypnotist is kind of saying, I want you to lift your arm. So he's saying, in a few seconds, your arm is going to lift all by itself, for example. So he's essentially saying, I want you to lift your arm, but I don't want you to do it. The way you kind of solve that paradox is by kind of lifting your arm and representing it, but kind of forgetting that that's what you're doing, right? Um, David Spiegel, to answer. But here's an interesting thing to consider. What if, so I mean, when someone experiences hypnosis, it's usually the experience of non-volition, right? It's an experience is deemed hypnotic to the extent that you have the perception that it just happened. It just emerged. It just like I didn't do it, right? It just happened. What if that is actually closer to truth? Not the notion that the so-called hypnotist made you do it, but when people have these hypnotic experiences, the mind is no longer hallucinating a doer. It's no longer hallucinating a thinker or a decider or a chooser or an author of the experience. It's actually the removal of a positive hallucination, essentially. So we're going to be playing with hypnosis and hypnotic phenomena and suggestion as well in an effort to see through the self-illusion. Uh, Something else that's kind of different about this too, it's not trauma informed. So if you look at a lot of the what you could call the awakening industry, it seems to be overtaken by trauma activists and traumatologists with a lot of focus on repression and all these sorts of stuff. If you're familiar with my work and my videos, you know that I'm not a supporter of the kind of trauma framework. So it's not that at all. Instead, it's more based upon research from memory science and cognitive psychology and social psychology, stuff like that. And of course, we're going to record the sessions, and there will be recorded guided meditations to listen to between sessions that you'll have access to, coming at this from different perspectives, and also tasks. So first time I'm doing it. We don't know if we're ever going to do it again. It's experimental in the sense that we've never done that. But in the psychological illusion model that I teach, a lot of people seem to kind of get quite a bit of the whole thought aspect, but the self-illusion aspect seems to uh, not be there a lot of the time. So this is an effort to like it's not about change work. It's not about how to work with clients. It's just for those of you who seek truth and would like to explore this on your own behalf. That's what we're doing.